welcome to the stage Congressman Mark Takano from the 41st District of California.
Well, thank you everyone. Hi Aisha. Thank you everyone for being here today, and thank you Aisha for inviting me to speak at this terrific event. Your leadership has helped the Victory Institute stand strong at a time when its mission is more important than ever. We're going to miss you. Thank you for all the great work you've been doing and have done, and you ought to be proud of the accomplishments that you've made. And Anise, I know you're poised to take the baton towards victory in 2018. Yeah. So Anise, welcome. Today, we're here to talk about the shifting trends of America and how they impact the LGBTQ community. It's an appropriate topic for this moment. And if we've learned anything over the past couple of years, it's that you can always count on change in America, but you can't always count on progress in America. So when the Victory Institute gathered for this conference last December, we knew that our nation had taken a step backward. But we didn't know where that step would lead us or how the progressive movement would respond. In the first year of the Trump administration, we've faced an onslaught of attacks against LGBTQ Americans, working families, women, Muslims, racial and ethnic minorities. But we've also seen an incredible resistance emerge to counter the dangerous impulses of this White House. A day after the inauguration, people across our nation and around the world marched to make their voices heard. And thank you for the people in this room who were part of that. On a quiet Friday evening, lawyers in cities big and small rushed to defend innocent people caught up in the president's Muslim ban. On Twitter, the commander-in-chief told trans service members that their service was no longer valued. And yet those same trans service members still reported to their posts and stood guard over a nation whose leader had defamed and insulted them. This truly has been a year of challenges, but also a year of heroes, and many of those heroes are here in this room. This year of resistance has also been exhausting, but also effective. Those who oppose the values of our community and who question our right to equality under the Constitution control all three branches of government. Yet for all their power and all their anger, they have accomplished very little. In fact, the Affordable Care Act, the fate of Dreamers, and the rights of transgender Americans have achieved broader support in the public because of your tireless efforts. We have another year of difficult fights ahead of us, but hopefully next November, thanks to the work of the people at this conference, will mean that help is on the way. With more than 24 openly LGBT candidates running for Congress in 2018, our community has a chance to translate the energy of the resistance into tangible political power and real oversight authority over a president who must be held accountable. The decisions we make and the actions we take over the next 11 months will either help restore America's commitment to tolerance and equality or push us further down a dangerous path. As hard as this year has been for everyone, in some ways I think we were really prepared for it. As people of color, as trans people, as gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and women, we didn't enter the year 2017 as naively as some of our straight, white, cis white males. And when I see the shock on the faces of some of my progressive friends who never dreamed our nation could fail so badly, I think to myself, oh girl. I practice that line a lot. Oh girl. Or should I say, girl? I am the son and grandson of Japanese Americans who were earned by their own, that were interned by their own government due to their ancestry. My grandfather lost his property and his greenhouses in Washington State, and when he was relocated and imprisoned, along with more than 110,000 other persons of Japanese ancestry, 75 years ago. And I witnessed the consequences of that injustice. Instead of retiring to the life he deserved, he became a gardener in his advanced age. And I spent many summers as a young man, actually as a teenager, as a boy, working for my grandfather, mowing the lawns of the richest families in my hometown. Now, he should have been living in one of those homes, not planting flowers around them or trimming the hedges. But he never gave in to anger and resentment, and he never gave up his hope that through hard work, he could make a better life for his family. In the summer of 1973, I sat in front of him on the floor of his living room in his house, which was across the street from my own family's house in Riverside. And I watched Congresswoman Barbara Jordan deliver her opening statement in the hearings on the impeachment of President Richard Nixon. Those hearings have been on my mind quite a bit lately, I should add. And in her statement, Jordan laid out how the nation had time and again failed the African American community. But she also said in that opening statement why she still had faith in our country. She said, "My faith in the Constitution is whole. It is complete. It is total. And I am not going to sit here and be an idle spectator to the diminution, the subversion, the destruction of the Constitution." Her faith, despite all the evidence to the contrary, is a sentiment that I think all of us can understand. She knew then, as we know today, that America has not lived up to her promise. Or in the words of the philosopher Richard Rorty, we are still in the process of achieving our country. It is not a fait accompli. It's not done. It's a work in progress. But this process has not turned us bitter. It does not leave us despondent. I walk into an African American church on Sunday in my own hometown of Riverside, California. I listen to my colleagues in Congress with the courage to say, "Me too." I speak to a group of 400 LGBTQ activists in Washington, D.C., and all I see is hope and determination. And that is why progressive politics is the future of our country, because it is grounded in that self-evident truth that all of us are created equal. Our respect for women, for the LGBT community, and for all people is not contingent on political convenience. It is embedded in who we are. So when our friends, especially our progressive friends, let us down, we have to hold them accountable. As a teacher, the hardest thing I had to do was discipline the kids that I liked the most. But I still did it, because that's what set the standard for the classroom. There should be one justice system in this country that applies equally to all. And there should be one standard of conduct in our society that we are all responsible for meeting. And there should be one even higher standard of conduct that all elected officials must uphold. The progressive movement cannot fulfill its promise with a coalition that looks like the past. Conservatives are doubling down on a view of the world that is out of touch, backwards looking, overwhelmingly male and almost exclusively white. We need to challenge our progressive friends to ensure that every organization is welcoming to every person willing to join the fight for justice. So our institutions need to change, and that change will come faster if our leaders reflect the diversity of our nation. Those of us who are people of color, women, or LGBTQ, we need to put ourselves out there. I implore you, don't wait to be invited. Show up and demand inclusion. If you have the opportunity, run for office. You are literally in a room right now full of people ready to support you. Your hometown deserves your talents and your skills, particularly those of you who are from underrepresented communities. So I am really proud to be the only openly LGBTQ person of color to serve in the United States Congress. Asian. Someone's going to dare me to do that on the floor. I got a friend back home that says, I can't wait to say girl on the floor of the house. And I'll tell you, I'll be much prouder when I am just the first of many. Follow in the footsteps of Harvey Milk. Take a cue from Takano. Whether you win or lose, your life will be the richer for the experience. Though as someone who's done both, win and lose that is, it's far more fun to win. Which means those of you who don't feel called upon to run, you had better feel called upon to support. Very smart. The people in this room who are putting themselves forward for school boards, for state legislatures, for Congress, they can't get us a seat at the table unless you help them win. And when we win, we will do so graciously. We will show our opponents the kindness that they refuse to show us. That night, when Takano defeated Bob Marshall, a man who depicted her as a predator, that night, reporters wanted to gloat. They wanted her to gloat. They wanted her to use that moment to embarrass Bob Marshall. Instead, she said this: I don't attack my constituents. Bob is my constituent. And Danica is what a leader looks like. That's what our community stands for, and that's how we are going to heal this great country. So thank you so much for this chance to speak here today, and I look forward to seeing what each of you is going to do to put 2018 to put America back on the right path. Thank you very much.